Let's convert between degrees and radians and vice versa. Now, remember when we talked about converting earlier in this lesson, we talked about anytime you convert, you need to multiply by a complicated looking 1. Two things that are the same even though they have different numbers. In this case, we're converting from degrees to radians. So we need to multiply by something that we know is the same in degrees and radians. Now, I am going to put degrees on bottom so that the degrees will cancel. And then I'm going to put radians on top, so that's what I'm left with. Now I need my complicated 1. I need something that's the same in degrees and radians. You do have a couple options here. We could say 360 degrees is the same thing as 2 pi radians. Those are equivalent. That's a complicated looking 1. Another one that is commonly used is to say that 180 degrees is the same thing as pi radians. Also a complicated looking 1. Those are the same measurements, just 1 in each type. Now, typically what I've learned to do is to do 180 and pi. Because those numbers are smaller, they're a little easier to work with than 360 and 2 pi. Now we can do our conversion. The degrees on top and bottom cancel. And remember, we multiply across. This is over a secret 1, so I get 60 times pi on top. And I get 1 times 180 on bottom. And radians is the only thing that I have left here, so that's my unit. Now it just comes down to simplifying. You can simplify this in your calculator, that's fine, or you could think of dividing the top and bottom by 60 each. And if you do that, you would simplify it to 1/3 pi radians, or 1 pi over 3 radians, or as we say, pi thirds radians. So that means 60 degrees is the same thing as pi thirds radians. So now that you've tried that, I would like you to try to go the other direction. So start with negative 5 pi 6. This is currently in radians. Multiply by our complicated looking 1 and simplify it to get how many degrees this would be. Pause the video, try this on your own, and then come back to check your work. Let's check your work. So I times by 180 over pi radians this time because I wanted my radians to cancel out and I wanted to be left with degrees. Then I multiplied across, negative 5 pi times 180 on top, 6 times pi on bottom. Degrees is all that I have left. I noticed that I had a pi on top and bottom that would cancel. That helps me out a little bit with simplifying. And then I just had to do negative 5 times 180 divided by 6 to give me my answer of negative 150. Last one, we want to take 1 radian and change it into degrees. How many degrees is 1 radian? So once again, pause the video on this one, try this out on your own, and then come back to check your work. This one does not come out as pretty as the last one. Multiplied across, 1 times 180 gave me 180, 1 times pi gave me pi. Nothing cancels in this one, so I just do 180 divided by pi in my calculator, and I get this decimal that I rounded off, 57.296 degrees. So that is how we convert from degrees to radians and vice versa. We are officially done with lesson 1.1. Congratulations, you've done all the basics for degrees and radians. In the next lesson, we'll actually start to move into triangles.